Hey, Dave Canales, head coach, Carolina Panthers. Why won't you name Bryce Young the starter? It's a simple, yep. Bryce is going to be starting next week. 2 weeks from now. You get a bye week. It's a simple, the guy that has us on our first 2-game winning streak in 2 years is going to go for 3 against the defending world champion Kansas City Chiefs. That's it. I
feel great about playing football right now.
You darn right you do. But you can't right now because nobody knows who your starting quarterback is. Give us the coach speak. Say right now he's our starter. That way, if you want to change tomorrow, you go, if you read back the court reportings, you will see I did not perjure myself. I said right then he was the starting quarterback. I said nothing about the next day he's our starting quarterback. I have asked this question 100 times. I have not been given a good answer. I've been given answers. I have not been given good answers. Why won't Dave Canales just say Bryce Young is the starter? I've been racking my brain. And before we get to the reasons that I've been given from you, there's one that popped into my head this morning, and it might be the scariest of the bunch. I am worried that he might not be allowed to make the decision and say it publicly without approval.
Ooh.
And this is not a Dan Morgan thing.
Yeah.
This is a David Tepper thing.
Yeah. Ooh. You know what? That had not crossed my mind.
It hadn't until this morning. I was going in because Dave Canales, for all Dave Canales is, right? The wildly chipper, overexcited, optimistic. Baker Mayfield called him the optimist bully.
Yep.
For all of that he is, he doesn't strike me as a. He actually strikes me mostly as a straight shooter, right? I think he does usually. The answers he gives are usually honest. Sometimes I think he gets caught in coach speak thinking this is what he's supposed to say, but I don't think there's any nefarious intent where he's trying to throw us off the scent. He doesn't strike me as like a lack of socially aware guy. You know what I mean? I think it would be ridiculous if he's sitting there thinking they really don't know who I'm going to name the starter. Right? If he's looking at us, the media, us, the fans, if he's looking at the Chiefs and going, I know it. They don't know what I'm going to do next. Like, we all know what you're going to name Bryce Young the starter. We know what you're going to do. But maybe he's like, yeah, I know you know. I know you know. We all know what's going to happen here. I'm just not allowed to tell you. So yeah, here you go. We're going to get all the information. Let me come up with some other ridiculous reason why I'm not going to tell you now. And then I can go back to him and we can talk and we can pretend like it was his idea to start Bryce Young. Then I'll come out on Wednesday and I'll be able to pass it along to you. It's not the craziest conspiracy theory I've heard. It's not. It kind of reminds me of, like, have you ever been in the know on a surprise party? And had the person who you're throwing the surprise party for, like, look you dead in the eye and just ask, are they throwing a surprise party for me tomorrow? And you have to go like, no, what? Huh?
What are you talking about?
Surprise party? Weird. They know, that they, like, everyone in that conversation is, they figured it out, right? They saw the Evite or something. Like, they know what's going on here. You know it, but you just have to play the role because you're not allowed to be the one to say it. That kind of is the vibe I'm getting here, where it's like, Dave Canales, will you start Bryce Young, the guy that was turnover free and had a game-winning drive two games ago and did enough to win the game and is growing with these young receivers and showing confidence and progressing every single day. Are you going to go with that guy starting next year or the 37-year-old journeyman that's not under contract beyond this season? And he's like, surprise party? I don't know. You don't have plans tomorrow afternoon around 2? Yeah, I'm busy. I won't be with you. I definitely won't be at your house when you get back from the gym. Yeah, everybody's in the know. Let me debunk some of the others that I've heard. There is no competitive advantage. This is the one I hear most often. The next team is going to have to prepare for both Andy Dalton and Bryce Young. It's no. They're not changing the plays. They're not If you had a guy that ran a 4.40, maybe, but these are NFL teams. They're not going to change everything they do because you're starting Andy Dalton or Bryce Young. And they're not going to assume that it's Andy Dalton. If they were very different game plans, they're planning for Bryce Young. Could it possibly, this was one that was brought up by the caller yesterday, and I thought it was interesting.
Okay. Could
it possibly be an advantage for Bryce mentally that he isn't named the starter? Right? Because he is improving. He is gaining his confidence week over week. Is Dave Canales not naming the starter the reason why Bryce is playing that way?
Like, hey, Bryce still has to feel I have to keep earning this every week.
Exactly.
Okay.
And also maybe doesn't feel the weight of I am the franchise quarterback again on his shoulders.
Okay.
He's still just a guy in a competition. He's not the future of everything.
All right. I see that.
I hate that if it's true.
Yeah, I understand the logic.
No, exactly. That's what I'm saying. It
yeah.
might be true. If Dave Canales is seriously looking at Bryce Young and saying he won't react well to being named the starter, either he won't be fighting as hard to prove himself every week or the pressure will become too much for him, cut him.
Alarms.
If that's the thing, we got bigger problems here than why Dave Canales won't name the starter. You got bigger problems in your entire locker room. I would hate that if it's true, but I want to open the door to the 1% of 1% that it might be true. And credit the caller from yesterday for having the creative thinking, because that wasn't something that I had popped up in my brain as of yet. The last point I want to make is, and I'm not going to play the audio for you. We did it last week, and I'm not going to do the whole thing over again. Dave Canales does these shout-outs in the post-game locker room. Players, they do allow, obviously, the social media team to record it, but not at the podium. In the locker room, he has a little index card, and he reads off some stats, and he gets the team. It's like 3 cheers for Chuba, only it's like Chuba had 150-some yards. Yay! DJ Wanham had a tackle or a sack. Woo! Second straight week they didn't mention Bryce or anything in the pass game. Well, Jadeveon Sanders they did, but not the passer, I guess I should say. That's weird to me. It's weird to me. And it's the quarterback, first of all. I'll actually tell a quick story here. Do you know who Tom Flick is?
Tom Flick?
Nobody does. But he was a quarterback at Washington, the Huskies, in maybe the 80s, 70s. But he became a motivational speaker, and he actually spoke at my dad's company a few times. And Tom Flick, one of the things that he would say is he was a backup quarterback in the NFL for a handful of years. And he's like, I get so many game balls. Like, starting linebackers don't have as many game balls as I have, because anytime a quarterback is put in the starting lineup and you win, the coach gives you a game ball. Like, it's just, even if you threw no touchdowns, you threw for 110 yards, you got a game ball because, the quarterback found a way to win. And he's like, to be a linebacker to get a game ball, you have to get 10 tackles and an interception. Quarterback, you put in the starting lineup, unless you're Dan Fouts, you get to be the guy that everyone celebrates. For some reason, the Panthers don't do that unless it's Andy Dalton. For some reason, Bryce Young went through everything he went through over the first, 7 weeks of the season. He was put back in. He ended up winning back-to-back games, and they don't even acknowledge it in the locker room. Walk out to the press conference. He was very complimentary, so I'll give him that. Am I coddling Bryce?
Maybe.
That was one I heard on Twitter, and rocked me a little bit, right? Because you need him to be praised. You need him to get the shout-out. Why are you coddling Bryce? Which I hear, and I'm not saying it's wrong. Maybe I'm a little too sensitive to quarterbacks that have been benched because I've been there. Not fun. Not in the NFL, at the FCS level. Not fun. But I think it's the opposite. I think by calling him out, by praising him, by saying his name, make that the new standard, right? I think by saying, hey, Jadeveon Sanders caught his first touchdown today. Here's a cheer. Here's a hip hip hooray for Jadeveon Sanders. What you're also saying is, we don't do this next time, right? What you're also saying is, that first touchdown, you only get the first touchdown cheer once. Hey, Bryce Young, game-winning drive, coming off from the being benched earlier this year, heck of a job. What you're also saying is next week we expect it, right? What you're also saying is you only get the first cheer one time. Call attention to it and make that the new standard. Ignoring it is like, now next week, what if he throws for 300 yards? I don't know. It's. I don't think brushing accomplishments under the deal is, or under the rug is the word I'm looking for, is the opposite of coddling. I think that's the most coddling. That's like, we'll just let you, we'll let you do you in the corner. No one will pay attention. You do you. The Drive with Tim Donnelly, 99.9 The Fan.
By the way, the caller that you mentioned about, maybe Dave hasn't announced it because it's working. Yeah. Stanky on UNRG Live. He's like, hey, I was the caller yesterday. He said, I think it's not that it's the pressure that's getting to him that's making him play bad. It's giving Bryce something to fight for. It's not letting Bryce get comfortable. That's the issue. I've got this. I can relax.
What is it going to be, 20 games from now? He'll be going into his 22nd consecutive start, and you're still going to be going like, we drafted that guy in the 6th round. He might be coming for your job just to keep him on his toes. Like, I don't know. Did Nick Saban constantly threaten him to be benched at like the on your toes element, the pressure element, the like, hey, someone's coming for you. That's competition, right? Every game you have to go out there and win. If it might be true, by the way, I'm not saying Stanky is his name. I'm not saying Stanky is wrong. I'm saying if that's true, that is something that is inherently an issue in the makeup of the quarterback.
I will say this, though. Having been benched for Bryce, he should not be comfortable at all.
Ever.
He should not be like, no, I don't want that feeling ever again.
Go throw for 35 touchdowns, and then maybe we'll give you a little bit more leash. Like it's definitely 2 wins, one of which you threw for 126 yards, one of which you threw 2 picks. Granted, maybe not your fault. Those are not. Now I'm good. If he names me the starter, now I'm chilling. That's not that at all.